This is for all of the martyrs whose blood sparked the revolution, whose chalk outlines on cement framed the ranks of protest and boycotts, whose hashtags forgot to mention the next of kin that were left behind trying to find a little peace of mind in the world that requires death for the sake of Black Lives Mattering. This is for all of the street prophets that kick that knowledge that can't be found in scripture, but possess the passion of a Christ with conviction. They sport the hopes of the falling being more than a eulogy like it's religion, speaking in tongues to the ignorant in order to rectify their comprehension. See, because it's a real nigga party, and everybody can't get in, or sit in, or weigh in, just waiting to shift gears so that the conversation can change, thinking it's strange that the fruit of our labor has to be birthed from the abortion of life. So when you say all lives matter, why is it that your statements never come at a sacrifice for you? But your intention is to marginalize our loss. Like you don't get angry when your bank account decreases and you can't give an account for the prices that's been spent. My people have spent blood, sweat, and tears and fear for the enrichment of their presence in a nation that values profit over humanity and hides their faces to the suffering. Do you know how many unsung heroes were made into champions before ever becoming a soldier? How many of our men and women and children caught bullets shielding sorrow? How many lungs collapsed beneath the weight of prejudice and statistics? How many stereotypes have ended relationships and destroyed friendships and severed the ability to receive love? Why your interjections deceitfully rendered our disrespectful toward our intelligence, but your fathers have taught you all how to be offensive with charm? While our fathers have taught us to hold our hands up where they can be seen, to keep the hood of our hoodies down, to never travel alone, to listen, observe, and try to stay one step ahead, because in a matter of split seconds, Black lives can become casualties that go dutifully unnoted, while your privilege allows your disrespect to be easily disregarded. So when you say all lives matter, why is there no conviction in your statement to the point where tears spill throughout your vowels and consonants? It's because you live on a continent that will tell you that you're right even when you're wrong. You're surrounded by resources that make you feel strong enough to not take chances and risk daily that are coded in our DNA. You ain't got enough melanin to make it make sense. So when you speak in nonsense, our ears are deaf to the privilege of your lingo. When you speak out of turn, our culture can't translate your bullshit. When you try to distract us from the racism that's trying to strangle the last of our voice that needs to be heard, we ain't heard a sound outside of these police sirens that's blaring through a crowd of victims telling us to kneel down and place our face to the pavement, because chances are this is the last time we will see this part of the world. You want to slander the validity of our slogan because it doesn't include our oppressors. It doesn't register for you that some of your boys in blue only joined the police force in order to force a hidden agenda up on a certain demographic. And it's only tragic when so-called accidents happen to your own kind. But what about the little black babies that will never again receive forehead kisses at night from their fathers because he was reaching for his wallet to get his ID? What about the scholars that will never make it out the city they were born in because their hoods are written off as a case of mistaken identity? What about the mothers whose cries cut through the very soul of a pastor and preacher because hell has controlled the outcome of her child's future? What does a future even look like in a world where black people are blacked out because we can't express the turmoil of our loss without being told that it's offensive, while our offenders are still holding positions as if their crimes against us is insignificant? How many politicians have sided with these injustices? How many funerals have been held without apologies? How much democracy is represented by the minorities? How many opportunities have been granted in safe spaces where explanations don't have to follow incidents involving our lives being dismissed, like our breath ain't got a right to oxygen, like our late night walks ain't got a right to be left alone, like our expensive cars ain't got a right to not be stolen, like our assembling together in large groups ain't got a right to not be gang related, like our faces should sink deeply into the abyss of the forgotten because our rights include only accepting that that we're expendable, it's more apparent that the obvious thing to do is to reiterate that Black Lives Matter, because our Black lives show up on more coroner's reports, news articles, t-shirts, and funeral proceedings than the lives of those that think our only right is to be silent. So the next time you hear, witness, or see one of us say Black Lives Matter, mind your motherfucking business. Because this is for all of the martyrs whose blood sparked the revolution, whose chalk outlines on cement framed the ranks of protests and boycotts, whose hashtags forgot to mention the next of kin that were left behind, trying to find a little peace of mind in a world that requires death for the sake of Black lives mattering. This is for all of the street prophets that kick that knowledge that can't be found in scripture, but possess the passion of a Christ with conviction. They sport the hopes of the falling being more than a eulogy, like it's a religion, speaking in tongues to the ignorant in order to rectify their comprehension. See, cause it's a real nigga party and everybody can't get in. Black Lives Matter.